Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. This video is about the beryl crystals, part 2, and Helix crystals. And it's one of my favorite topics. I'm so excited. I'm also recording this on the eclipse, the lunar hybrid eclipse. So I figured what perfect timing for my favorite video. So let's get started. Buckle in because it's going to be a really long one. And I'm going to, well, let's do the intention candle first. Penny's, I don't know if you can hear her or not, but she's excited tonight. I'll let her say hello. She bit the mic. So my intention for you, for always, is for you to find alignment with your highest self, with your heart, with your soul purpose, and your favorite version of yourself. And also for you to just have an amazing evening and a pleasant evening, and for me to help you with all of that in any way that I can. So I'm gonna use some Palo Santo and just give us a little cleanse before we get started. I don't know about you all, but it's been a crazy week. It's been super weird energetically. I think as we're gearing up for this eclipse, and the Schumann resonance has been crazy lately. So it's just been a tough time. If you're not familiar, the Schumann resonance is the resonance of the earth. It has its own vibration, and they measure it. And it fluctuates. But recently it's been off the charts. I think that, and there's just all kinds of crazy things happening. The Earth's magnetic poles are reversing. I've seen a lot of people's magnetic and yin and yang poles reversing. We're entering and we're in the age of Aquarius. This eclipse sort of marks a big timeline shift. So I thought, what perfect timing to make this video. That's my favorite subjects, both the beryls and helix crystals, and all kinds of cool science stuff. So yeah, and I figured it's a weird time, and this is kind of a weird subject. I'm just sort of bizarrely passionate about this for some reason. I felt really, really called to study the helix properties in crystals. I've been studying it for many, many years, probably in excess of 5-6 years. And I'm just finally starting to coalesce around thoughts. I would not even say that I've scratched the surface. There's so much more to learn, and I've been so hesitant to make a video for that reason. I've learned so many different subjects. I've learned quantum physics, quantum mechanics. I've learned about chemistry and just you name it. Fractals. I studied fractals for about 2 years. And yeah, it's a lot. I also spoke, I had a whole lunch where I met with a friend who worked with NASA and studied crystal growth in space. So I've dug in about as deep as I can find, and I still don't really know, to be honest with you, but I'm just starting to get something going, so maybe you all can help me fill in the gaps and sort of connect the threads. But yeah, I figured this was a really good time to talk about something so weird and nuanced. I have a lot of crystals to show, and it's probably going to be a really long video. And yeah, this is, I think, the most crystals I've ever had. So it's both going to be a show and tell and cool science stuff. So yeah, if that's not your thing, now's the time to opt out. So I will just begin with showing a few examples. You have seen most of these crystals before, so I apologize. I don't have a ton of new material to show, but they're still, they're still fun, and I'm going much more into depth about them here. So this is, the main guy, the main one, and the main sort of theory on the internet about how these form is that people call them a screw dislocation. So the spiral through the middle of the crystal is referred to as a screw dislocation. However, that is referring actually to an atomic level stress. So it gets stressed at an atomic level. Input is introduced into the perfect crystal structure that's very organized. And at a unit cell level, so that's as small as we can go into the groups of the way that the atoms are organized. At that level, it gets bumped up. So it might be pressure. That's the most common reason. And I have a graphic to show you to help understand. So, as you can see, it gets bumped up one way, and then, once the structure keeps growing, it's forced to grow in a spiral. And it's it's a fairly common occurrence in crystals, but again, that's at an atomic level. So what we're seeing at a visible spectrum is not that. It's likely formed as the crystal is growing. I don't think that it is a fracture that occurs afterwards because it is part of the physical crystal itself. This is a really cool long one that I have, and I probably will supplement some videos of these over the top, just to really show their full potential. So they do propagate fractally, and I'll get to that in a minute, but that doesn't quite explain how it would go from atomic level to visible. That difference is an order of magnitude larger. The other thing, as you can see with this one, it's not perfect. They can meander a bit, so I don't quite buy that. It could be a fracture after the crystal is born. You know what I mean. This is my favorite and most museum quality fancy piece I own, and this one is perfect. This one is completely exceptional. It's really special. So yeah, you can kind of see there. This is another one. It's not quite as apparent in this one, but you can sort of get the idea. And they sort of all look different, which is another thing that's very mysterious about them. As you can see, some of them are, completely perfect in every way, and some of them tend to meander around. They don't always start or stop within the crystal. I have some where it starts midway, like this topaz. That little line, it's much tighter in this topaz, but this one, it only starts about a third of the way up through the crystal, just out of nowhere. This is a really exceptional piece as well. Yeah. I'll have to supplement this one too, but sometimes they start in the crystal or start out of it and stop inside it. So that's also sort of mysterious. And they've only ever been found in 5 crystals, I think. Topaz, tourmaline, the beryls, and naturalite, oddly enough. I've only found one example of tourmaline and naturalite in pictures on the internet. I've never seen one anywhere in real life, or anywhere on the internet other than those 2 pictures. So topaz, they are absolutely the most common in aquamarine. I have 15 aquamarine crystals. I have 2 topaz and ton of kunzite crystals. I will have to do like a whole other video for kunzite, because I have a ton of them and it's too much for one video. They also show up a lot in kunzite crystals. So, and that's kind of also weird. They don't all have the same crystal structure either. So they're mostly trigonal, hexagonal, but yeah. This is a newer piece I have of aquamarine. I'm trying to figure out the best way to hold it. We'll see. Oh gosh, that one's so beautiful. It's etched and has cat hair on it, so everything has cat hair on it. I feel like it wants to go this way. This one's really cool. I'm a huge fan of etched crystals, as y'all know, and I tend to be in the minority on that, but that's okay. This is another piece I have. This one I think will need a better video because it's pretty cool. And this one is one of my favorites. It's a lot different than the rest of them. Just to show you how strangely these things propagate and how they all sort of develop differently, which makes them, again, hard to study and hard to understand. I have one little emerald that's this size, and I seriously doubt I can get it to show up on camera because the spiral is so tiny. But this is an incredibly rare find. It's way more rare in emeralds. In fact, I've only seen 2, I think. And it's just got the tiniest little spiral in it, but it's for sure there. It starts halfway up the crystal and comes right out the center of the top. So, I also have this aquamarine I've shown before, and it also has a tiny little one inside. This one has a really cool gemmy quality. It's from Vietnam. And that tiny little line inside is the spiral. This one's a really neat piece, and it's terminated. So that one's a teeny, very little spiral. And this one is totally unique too. It's a spiral that's full of what I believe is tantalite. This one would be actually better with a light background so you can see it. But this spiral is actually black inside. And that's, again, like, throws a little bit of a wrench into the study as well. Because that's very interesting. And one last piece. This one is one of my favorites. It's so fancy and gorgeous. the spiral is not strong, but you can kind of see it through the center there. This piece is really gemmy and cool. It's got black tourmaline. So, I can kind of see it there, maybe. Yeah, those are my beryl crystals with Helix. I also have this beryl piece that's not exactly a helix, but it kind of is. And it's like a Christmas tree structure. It's really weird. I couldn't not include that one. It was made into a pendant. So yeah, those are the ones that I have that are beryls. And I will show you my few other favorites that I've all shared before, but here we are again. So this one is kunzite, and it's just a big fat spiral through the center. It's like perfectly square. This is like my lightsaber crystal. I love it so much. Let's see, what a huge spiral. And this is another favorite. This is probably the most pronounced spiral gem kunzite I've ever seen. It's one of my most precious crystals that I own. And yeah, I will just do a whole other video on my kunzites because it's a lot. And let's see. I also have this huge one, which is probably the biggest spiral I've ever seen. It starts at the bottom and forks into two, goes all the way up to the very top of the crystal. So that's it, all the way up. And it's purple. It's like a sword kunzite. I love this piece. Also has great sounds. And I'll show you one more before I get into it. Oh no, two more. This one is probably my favorite. I think I said that last time too. This is Hiddenite, the green spodumene, green kunzite. This one has 3 spirals that all come out of this little, I think it's mica, so mica spot, and there's 3 spirals. There you can see them. They come up. And it's like got this incredible termination. It's like completely an alien piece. I think that I just connect with this on a soul level. And more to come on the little mica spot. And my last one is my most fancy piece of all time. It's got the most huge spiral I think that has ever been. It's through the whole center of this piece. You can see it pretty well sideways. And don't make my face go away. Yeah, you can see there. The whole thing. It's just one big, insane spiral. It looks like an, I think someone said like an alien spine or an alien vertebrae. This piece is crazy. So, what makes these cool is that these properties, these dislocations that happen, being able to see them at a visual level, to me just means that the crystal is touching the other side, is a bridge between the physical and the etheric, and we're able to see it with our eyes. And it's, to me, why crystals are so magical. They've literally captured the fingerprints of existence. The fingerprints of the cosmos is visible in these crystals. So this helix coming through, these visible fractals all the way through the crystal, I believe is evidence of consciousness moving through. It's captured in space-time, almost like a snapshot of the earth in that very moment. And I think, maybe all of our consciousnesses move through crystals to become to this plane. Or this helix is able to sort of capture like a snapshot, like a picture of a consciousness, of an entity, of a higher life form or a higher being. In one of my classes, taught by Robert Gilbert, he speaks about how maybe crystals, how our souls use our bodies as sensory organs to interface with this reality. Maybe crystals could be used as vehicles for consciousness as well, because they hold information and they hold perfectly just all of the frequencies that have been exposed to it over the entire course of its lifetime, just due to the periodicity of the atomic structure. So that's really cool. They've figured out that they could store terabytes of information on an emerald. It's pretty remarkable stuff. So we see these crystals as total interfaces between this world and the other world. The beryls have quantum tunneling water inside them. So this means that the water molecules in beryls don't have a fixed locality in space-time. They're measured to be able to occupy all points in the orbit, the electron orbit. So the hydrogen molecules in beryls are not fixed in space-time. So that means they are in and out of this dimension at a really fast rate, oscillating. And in fact, they are at both places at all time and all places at all time. So we're literally being able to capture the fingerprints, the very transition from etheric to physical with crystals. And you also see this in the formation of the actual screw dislocations in crystals. So the way that those little bumps occur, the little spirals propagating up throughout the crystal, the way that those are mapped inside the crystal is also fractal. And they've seen this even in some metals in a quantum state. So what we can infer from that is that they're self-organizing. And when you start to get to self-organizing systems and fractals, again, you're right at the cusp of physical and etheric. You're literally seeing the fabric come into existence. It is the bridge between matter and immaterial. So that's pretty cool that we're able to have evidence of that and be able to see that with the naked eye. That also, when we get into self-organizing systems, starts informing us about how intelligent consciousness is. You know, we're talking about this bridge, and right on the other side is consciousness, is life force energy, or chi, or prana, or ki, reiki, however, whatever terminology works best. Scalar energy, 0 point energy, all of these things that exist in as soon as you go just beyond a singularity, and a singularity being that the last modicum of matter, the illusion of matter, before it becomes immaterial. So I'm endlessly fascinated with this for some reason. So, the other cool thing about the dislocations, when they've studied them inside pyrite crystals, and pyrite is also really magical, they found monatomic gold in pyrite. And monatomic gold is a kind of miracle element in and of itself. People take it for their health, and it's like a superconductor for chi and ki and prana and that type of energy. So we're seeing this energy being drawn into the crystal and swirled throughout the structure of it. And monatomic gold kind of being materialized out of the immaterial. I just think that's probably one of the most magical things. So there's a lot to infer from that as well. It really is helping us understand how to navigate that transition, or that membrane, or that veil between our world and the next world. We can hold it in our hand and be literally touching material that is in and out of this dimension. This is a morganite crystal that's got tourmaline on it. And morganite is the pink beryl. This one will be available soon, once I've met it, but I want to work with it first. And there's a ton of the beryls, so they each have a little bit of a nuanced energy, and it really kind of depends on the frequency or the ray that you are attempting to work with, whichever medicine, whatever electromagnetic medicine you are after. So it's a really unique material to work with. This is my newest morganite that I'm obsessed with. And this one actually has a moving water bubble in it. It's right there. I'm not sure if I can get it to cooperate on this video, but I'll post one where you can see it moving. So how cool to have a beryl crystal that has water that can tunnel through matter. It can tunnel through walls. It can move in and out of space-time and locality, and not have a fixed location in the world and in space-time. So that water, and then the physical water within the crystal itself, you have to imagine how those two are interacting and how much more potent that makes this one in particular. I've barely let it go since I've gotten it. I'm so drawn to it. It's actually got a, you'll see if you can tell, it's got a blue core. Because morganite is actually sometimes starts out blue. This is a piece of blue morganite, and in order to turn into morganite, they're sometimes heated, and that can occur naturally or unnaturally. This is really rare. It's one of the only few pieces I've seen. This is from Brazil. And let's see, phenakite. I'll talk about phenakite briefly and show my phenakite crystals. So phenakite is beryllium silicate. It's like the pure beryl. And this is a giant piece of phenakite, at least in a gem variety. This one has a little bit of mica on it as well. And I believe this is from Brazil. And it's a new find. They've been coming out in this kind of interesting shape. Phenakite is, I would say, the highest vibration crystal that there is. It's so pure. This ring is phenakite. This ring is phenakite. I love the material, and it's so potent that it just really doesn't often grow any bigger than this. It's absolutely healing. It can change the energy of the whole space because it's so potent. And they kind of grow in different shapes from all over the world, and I think that's so fascinating. This one is from Ukraine, and it is disc-shaped, which is really cool. It's just like this flat sort of disc. And I have some phenakite with black tourmaline from Madagascar. I've never seen it grow with anything else ever other than this one little lot. And it's got little tiny tourmalines. And this one is kind of like the most typical growth formation that you'll see, and this is like the fanciest kind. It's got a drill bit termination, because you can see the termination looks like a drill bit. Can you believe that? I can't get it to show up. We'll probably have to do a video of this, but phenakite is one of those crystals that will melt ice. It's temperature differential, just based on the purity of this crystal and the the way that the lattice is organized, and it's a number of reasons, but it transfers heat immediately and efficiently. So you can put it on ice and touch it, and the ice will immediately start melting. It just transfers the heat extremely efficiently. So you can think about it being able to move energy, being able to transfer high vibe energy, and being such a good conductor for chi. And I've shown, I think, all of these before. This is my most favorite. It came from Australia, and it is from Patrick Gunderson, and he dug this in Australia from a tiny, tiny pocket. There were only a handful of them, and I got one, and it's one of my most special crystals of all time. The last one I have is, I think, my favorite. It's etched phenakite from Nigeria. I got these from an amazing shop called Crystal Portals. They're in Asheville, and I love them, so look them up. They have great prices, and they're sweet, sweet people. Yeah, this one, it has such cool etchings, and again, you know, I'm a sucker for etched, so. And I would say, I've also talked about my faith. This is my most soul vibrational crystal. It's Pazodite, and it's a kind of raspberry pink beryl. It's extremely dichroic, pleochroic, meaning that it looks different colors and different directions of light. So it tends to look really purpley pink in this orientation, and a nice orangey pink in the other. And I will just shoot a better video. And I have one gem piece of it that's perfectly, this is how they grow in these little tablet looking formations. They're mostly tea tiny as well, because they're so potent, and they really have a beautiful vibration. They just hit me at a soul level. And then of course red beryl. This is like typical size of red beryls to grow. They are also very potent little crystals. And even though it looks pink, they actually have a frequency that is very red. There's no violet coming through in the actual frequency level. So I thought that was interesting. This is my biggest emerald I have. I love emerald. And this is a really cool one from South Africa. And Heliodor is the yellow beryl. And it's got cool etchings. But I think what I would like to focus on saying about the beryls, this one's got cool rainbows after I get done with my show and tell, is that, not only do they help us interface with the etheric, they help us achieve that state of meditation, they help raise our consciousness, they bring us up, they lift up the energy, they get energy flowing and moving in such a beautiful way. But they're also extremely good allies. They work with the emotional plane really beautifully. And I think, just based on the way that they interface and the way that they can be a conduit for consciousness, I truly kind of believe that they have the consciousness to be able to support and be able to kind of give you the medicine that you need. So another cool thing about their self-organizing structure and their hexagonal growth structure is that hexagons are the vector equilibrium. All points are equidistant to the center, and again, that just is another conduit for source. That's kind of how all geometry is formed. It's how all the platonic solids kind of come into existence, and you can see it through the flower of life, and you can see it through studies of how fractals evolve and how the platonic solids kind of turn into matter. This tattoo is, oh gosh, look at my forearm, gross. Been climbing a lot. The symbol is called an amplituhedron, and it's used to calculate particle acceleration in quantum mechanics, but it's also a quarter of a Merkaba, and a Merkaba is the sort of most fundamental building block of all creation. So the fact that they can use it to do math about creation and about quantum mechanics, I think is just one of the coolest things. Again, once you start getting into fractals, you start getting into the code that generates our entire reality. You're looking at how we come into existence, the substrate of life itself and consciousness, and how inanimate things become animate. And this crystal in particular I said I was going to do it last time and I didn't. Has a really cool hexagonal growth structures all over it that look like snowflakes, and snowflakes are fractal. And this one has that same thing. This is one of my most favorite weird crystals. Let's see if I can get it to there. You can sort of see it's just a fractally arranged set of hexagons. And this whole thing is etched and sort of arranged out of these hexagons. And again, if either way, it could be the way that the crystal developed, or it could be from etching over time. I'm not sure. But either way, the sort of substrate of the crystal is revealed there, and you can see the fractal hexagons, and it's really cool. And I'll show you my favorite crystal. This is a morganite. This is the size of it. It's as big as my head. And it's got a blue core, and it's full of rainbows, and it's covered with clevelandite. It's perfectly terminated on all sides except this growth side. You can kind of see the blue core on the growth side. But I think this is probably one of the biggest gem beryls I've ever seen. This is a little rosette of Clevelandite. It's really cute. This thing probably, I don't know how much it weighs, but it's a ton. And you can just, I mean, there's rainbows throughout the whole thing. I keep this in my room and I look at it every morning when I wake up, and it just makes every day good to wake up and see this this magical being here. And one of the ways that morganite helps us, and the reason I think everyone could benefit from some morganite, I've been working with it for a long time, as long as I've been working with aquamarine, and probably more intimately actually with the morganite. And what I've learned is really, it works at a deep level. The beryls are hard crystals. They're like 8.5, 9 on the most hardness scale. And that means that it takes it some time to work. It takes time to penetrate into the body, and it takes time to bring it from the physical, or from the etheric to the physical. And I recommend working with beryls for at least 3 months, more if you can commit to it. And so they're good crystals to wear on the body, something that you can keep close to you for many, many, many days. Honestly, 30, 60, 90 days, longer if you can, because it takes some time to penetrate down to our DNA level, and they truly work at a DNA level. And morganite specifically, I've spoken about it in the past, and I said it works at a DNA level. It's for trauma that impacts you on a DNA level. But I was reading through my notes the other day, and I read it, and there's a nuance, and the nuance is that morganite heals trauma that changes your DNA. So if you had a heartbreak so badly that your DNA was literally altered, that it went all the way to the blueprint of your being in this lifetime and shifted your soul, shifted your spirit, shifted the way that you interact with this reality. And the only crystal, I believe, that is able to penetrate that deeply, that's able to conduct that chi, that's able to move it in to those heartbreaks that just change us. And I hope that not everyone has had to go through that. I think most people do at some point in their life. We all lose people that we love, and we lose animals that we love. I lost my most special girl about 5 years ago, and it's still 5 years later, I still cry a lot. It was a profound loss that changed me. It changed my soul. It truly did. And these crystals, that's why I have a morganite this big. It's like I need this much work. I'm that altered that I need the biggest morganite I've ever seen in my life. And it works. It does work. I truly know that it has helped, and it's helped me find those places and goes and heals them. I recommend using it with mica or lepidolite and pink tourmaline, because those kind of form this trifecta of inner child wound healing and just wound healing internally. They keep a sweet balance going on. Penny's back. Hello. So, I think with this eclipse and with this, we're entering in this new age. We're entering into Aquarius, where we're literally, our consciousness is moving up in an octave. It's moving up our perception of reality and the way that we interact in this world, and we're losing density. We're literally moving up a level of. Penny's here for this. She's like, yes, we are. Yes, we are. Do you want to come up here and talk about it? Come on. Anyway, yeah, it's one of the sweetest crystals to work with, and it's, based on that hardness, it's solid. It's not going anywhere. It is unconditional love. It is immovable. It is, just solid, and it's such a precious crystal to work with. And as an added benefit, it balances hormones. So the beryl family helps work with the hormones in the body, and on a physical etheric level and a physical level, we're able to kind of balance hormones for women going through a transition in their life, or anybody on supplements, things like that, hormonal supplements. I mean, it's really good crystal to work with and keep on you. This ring, this phenakite ring, I wear it pretty much 24/7, and it does make a huge difference. You're able to access the highest levels of vibration, so gratitude, love, abundance, joy, those frequencies are really captured, and just love, unconditional love, like I said. And I think everyone could use that right now, right? Like, so I'm seeing here, I've got, this is one of my most fancy crystals as well. I've shown it before too, but this is an etched aquamarine with phenakite, and it's got little dustings of crystals on the outside that are glittery, and it's got these really cool points, these needle-like terminations, really cool etchings, and anytime, like all these little tiny sparkly crystals are phenakite, and this is a brand new thing, phenakite on aquamarine, and I bought 2 lots of it because I kept the entire first lot. I love it so much, and I kept a lot of the second lot too. But I do have some for sale in my shop, both Etsy and my brick and mortar shop. And I have tons of morganite as well. There is a piece at every price range for whole spectrum. And I've got emeralds and my newest favorite, berylonite. And I've talked briefly about berylonite, but this is a brand new crystal. Berylinite has been found before, but not in gem varieties. This is a double terminated one. But this crystal is, like I said, brand new. This is fresh from the mine. And berylinite is, imagine if sodalite, aquamarine, and morganite and apatite had a baby. So you've got a phosphate, a sodium beryllium phosphate. And it's the most powerful combination of the three. They're phenomenal crystals, extremely high vibration. They're up there with phenakite, actually. And some of them, in some ways, even can exceed phenakite. So sodium helps clear, it changes it transmutes the air, it adds negative ions, and that's great. It clears, it absorbs dampness, and it absorbs stagnant energy. So we've got the high vibe, incredible properties of beryllium. We've got the absorbing properties of sodium, and we've got we've got the phosphate group. So, and the phosphate group helps transmute energy. So it's literally taking energy that's dense and transforming it into light. So it's actually physically changing. It is physically reducing the density. So it's the perfect crystal. It's the perfect combination, especially for this new era that we are popping into. And I think that's why they just now popped out of the ground. It's a pretty new mineral generally, but this type, this quality, it doesn't exist. Well, now it does, but it didn't exist before this. There's Penny. So, having a crystal like this with you as you navigate the sort of tough changes that are happening energetically right now is really beneficial. And I'm just obsessed with these crystals, to be honest with you. I'm just gonna love on this girl. Anyway, berylinite. I also have some pieces of lower quality berylinite that grow with herderite, which is a phosphate mineral. It's a little green, cute little green phosphate. Because I've been after berylinite for a while. I got one piece of it and fell in love. And so I asked my guy in Pakistan if he had any, and he found that lot, and I was thrilled with it. And it's very high vibration and very beautiful. But then he found these just a few weeks ago. They just popped out of the earth, so I think it's so exciting to see a new mineral type, and indicative of the energetic shifts that are happening right now. And yeah, if you want a tool to help you navigate those shifts, it's beautiful, beautiful. And that's about it. That's truly about it. I also have this piece I've shown before. It's quartz with hamburgite, which is a different type of beryllium phosphate that's also incredibly high vibration and cool. This piece is really neat. I love this piece. This one and this one are best friends, and they live in my room because they just have such, they're so big and they carry a huge vibration to just really affect the energy in the whole space. So that was a lot. I am proud of you if you're still sticking with me. I think I could keep talking about it for a long time, but I've covered the main points, I think. So if you would like me to expand, or if you wanted to see the kunzites video, let me know. And yeah, we're the crystals that transmute energy the most are the phosphates, these, and the whole kunzite spodumene family. They transmute energy like nobody's business. They're my favorite for it, other than those. Other than the phosphates. But these have, I've talked about them in videos as well. They have the most extraordinary light properties out of all of the crystals. They're fluorescent, tenebrescent, pleochroic. I think they're piezoelectric. Just like all of them, they're one of the few that's just across the board. So anytime you get all of those crazy light properties, again, that was starting to work with electrons, changing phases and light moving differently. Again, we're interfacing with the electromagnetic spectrum, which is, again, our reality is starting to fade away into the invisible, into the unseen. So I think that's really the gist of it. I am so drawn to these crystals, and I'm probably going to have one on me the rest of my life in some capacity. I usually sleep with morganite. It's a really good sleep buddy. Just the more gentle energy of it. Aquamarine can be potent. It's a crystal that you kind of have to meet. It's so high vibrational and so magical and so powerful. I was too intimidated by this crystal for months. It was like 6 months before I worked with this crystal. Just to give you an example. And that's me, who have, I speak crystal. I have ever since I was a little girl. And this one intimidated the shit out of me. So, they're not for the faint of heart. They're not for the brand new crystal person. I mean, of course they are, they're for everyone, but to really get to the intricacies of and utilize the full spectrum of this crystal, it's a lot. It's a whole lot, as evidenced by these crazy otherworldly helix spirals that we see in them. I don't think it's ever been found in a morganite because they grow in a tabular, squatty, squatty format, like the pisodites. So, you don't really ever see them in these long pencils. This is an aquamarine that's completely glass gem. Perfect termination. It's, again, this, I haven't worked with this crystal yet. I'm so intimidated. I'm trying to see if it can flash. It flashes a full prism of light. I can't see what I'm doing. Anyway, yeah. So morganite is a little bit more accessible. It's a little bit more to the physical. It works with the higher heart chakra. So you're also finding this really beautiful place of expressing your soul. If you think about it in terms of the Shen, and I talked about this a bunch in my last video, it's the higher heart is our spirit interface with our body, and it's our kind of portal to our favorite self, our higher self, our soul calling, and expressing it out into the world. So that's why you see morganite growing with green tourmaline a lot. Green tourmaline is also this beautiful higher heart crystal. Anything in the pink or light green is higher heart energy. And again, it's the chakra of the age of Aquarius. It's really where we're all trying to sort of find and vibrate out of right now. The unconditional love and oneness of our higher heart. So it's also such a beautiful crystal for that. It's just the sweetest energy, and it's time. It's time for us. Everything that is not in alignment is done. You know, it's out of your life. We're stepping up into our highest calling and in our highest self, and living through your heart, living out of that heart space, and finding that childlike wonder and childlike joy, and joy that you can feel in your body and in your bones and in your DNA. And you know, it also feels like the world is burning. So it truly is a lesson in the nature of our reality, is the duality, that teeter-tottering in between this world and the etheric, the dense and the immaterial. And so for every level that we level up, there's a matched lower density. There's a matched vibration in the 8th sphere or the lower realms in order to be able to keep that, keep the balance of the fabric of this reality. Who knows what other expressions of realities teach? I think each sort of manifestation, its expression of reality is a different school. This one is polarity and duality and the illusion of separateness. That's kind of the biggest goal of most people in this lifetime, is to recognize their ego, and that ego being the illusion of separateness, and recognizing that we are all one. And to repeat something that one of my mentors and one of my former teachers and just overall kind of spirit oracles has said is, you know, a lot of the time we say that humanity doesn't deserve to be here, or we say that humans should, you know, be wiped out, or we're doing really bad right now, and that's probably all true. But you know, if you looked at us from the outside in and really tried to connect, you know, if you were looking at looking down on us as a species, you'd root for us. We're doing okay too. So let's reframe our thought forms, and because every thought form becomes reality. So instead of saying we should die, let's say I'm rooting for us. I love us. Send love instead. And that will raise us up. And my camera's dying. I've talked so long. I love you. Thank you so much for being here. And good night. I'm grateful for you. Thank you for sticking this crazy ride out. And I'm sending you love. I'm sending you this beautiful energy. I'm healing you. They're healing you. We love